the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Assessment. I'm Scott McPike. It is, I would say, a pleasure, but I feel as if we've been here before. To join me, as always, to look at another weekend in the world of Rangers, it's a pleasure to welcome Scott Young. I don't know why I'm smiling.
Yeah, yeah, the world of Rangers is quite the place.
Right,
Yeah, what?
we have a responsibility to analyse a game, analyse what we've seen as not only supporters, but as people who talk about the game and things like that. I feel as if I've watched that game about 30 times in the past year. But there was
Yeah,
differences, but it was the same outcome.
yeah. I can't remember a game where the first half hour has been so unbelievably different to the preceding hour, and even not even half hour, the first half compared to the second half was so different.
I thought first half Rangers were I wouldn't say they were great. I wouldn't say it was a great performance. I would say it was, I mean, out of 10, maybe a 5. The second half was
Saw,
-2.
uh,
Like,
I think minus two is generous.
yeah.
I saw glimpses of the first half of I think we'll get into it more when we talk more about the game. But I saw glimpses in the first half between like links of play,
hmm
wee patterns and stuff. But after the goal, I don't remember us creating much, if
No,
anything.
no.
I think you saw, I think you saw the lack of creativity, the lack of Asgard. I think when Asgard and Moore come into the team, we'll see a massive difference because they're two players who will create stuff. Whether it's those two in the wings or Asgard in the middle and Moore out wide or both in the middle, I'm not sure. See how Martin will play it. But I think folk writing this, I see you obviously you see overreactions and that's bound to happen. Football fans are very Rangers fans and football fans are very reactive to a lot of things. But I don't think it. I don't. People writing off this season already are miles off it 'cause we're still 3 weeks left of the window and we've got two, I think, very good players to come into the team.
What I will say about that
Hopefully
is
three after the news yesterday.
what I will say about that is you can understand. I mean, yeah, some of the overreaction is an issue. The reason that I think a lot of people are, we had to convince ourselves that Martin was the right guy for the job, right? We were on
Yes.
the pod last season at the end saying, "I'm not sure about this." We had watched him in England. We do an EPL show where we talked about him a lot and his difficulty to adapt, which eventually lost him his job at Southampton. But we also had the caveat of this is a squad who, for a large part, and we've heard this from people in the club, we'd heard this from people in the coaching staff last season, the mentality was the problem in large cases. I saw the same thing with a lot of players on
Yeah.
against Middlesbrough, where Martin called it out. We'll get into the post match reaction from Martin, which I think is a very interesting thing to discuss. But the whole thing of it was at the start of when we started talking about Martin getting the job, we said, right, he has to get through that first round to guarantee European football. Okay. That would ease a little bit of the pressure and the kind of issues of people who didn't want him appointed, which again I wouldn't say we didn't want him appointed, I would say he wasn't our first choice.
Yeah. I
It's
think that's
probably fair.
fair enough.
But what we had to see though was a difference was a difference in mentality, difference in operating on the park. I think there is a bit of that, but as you say, there are players to come in. But I before we started recording, we're recording this just about 3:30 on Sunday afternoon. Before I come on here, I watched the press conferences that Beale and Clement did after the first games of the season. That was the 5th season in a row Rangers entered a season with a different manager.
Yeah.
Right. That's a club problem. That is being addressed, right? And we'll see what happens, but I would like to think we're not going to be in that position next season. Okay. I'd imagine this is a long-term project. I think the camera at the end where you saw Stewart and Thelwell with Martin, I think suggests that this is a long-term plan, and those three seem to be at the heart of that. Now, speaking of that though, Panathinaikos on Wednesday night, I think similar to Saturday, I think Panathinaikos are a better team than Motherwell. Panathinaikos' finishing was deplorable. They could have had 4 or 5 comfortably if it wasn't for Jack Butland, if it wasn't for blocks from the likes of Suter and Jigger. But their finishing was all over the shop, and that was the reason that the game was still alive. They got the goal eventually, and then a bit of brilliance for Gassama just sees it out. But overall in Panathinaikos, I don't think a lot of people were coming away going, yeah, Rangers are... The performance was there. The performance was not good at all.
No. I think you sort of touched on it there. My overall point when you said Martin gets to the Champions League, that'll ease the pressure a bit. But I don't think it has because of the way we got through. Like you said before we came on, it's 52 shots in the last 3 games we've conceded. If we had battered Panathinaikos, let's say 3-4-0 over the 2 games, and we're comfortably a better team, and then yesterday happened, I don't think folk would be as up in arms as they are. But because the 2 Panathinaikos games were pretty poor, the first half especially in the first leg, and the
Yeah, there was
entire
no
second
first half
leg,
performance in both
no,
games. There was no first half
it
performance.
was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I think the pressure will be eased, but that's another game. Obviously, we don't know the outcome of the Celtic game, but we can predict they're going to beat St Mirren today.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this an hour before the kick-off. But my prediction is we will start another season at least 2 points behind Celtic. That last we beat under Gerrard in the COVID season, we beat Aberdeen 1-0 away when we won the league. Then we beat Livy at Ibrox. Then we beat Livy away in Gio's first game. But that's last 3 seasons we've dropped points the opening day.
Yep.
Get beat 1-0 by Kelly under Beale. We drew 0-0 with Hearts under Clement. And obviously we drew 1 each yesterday. We can't keep starting seasons on the back foot, playing catch up already. Obviously 37 games still to go, whatever else. But that's not an effective way to put up a title challenge.
And I'm not
Is
saying
to drop
I'm
points your
not
first
thinking.
game.
I don't think there's anybody thinking Rangers are in a position to win the league. Right, we know they aren't, and that's not because I think Celtic are any better than they were last season. I just know that the job this is going to take at least a season to get this right. That's why I do think Martin deserves. There's certain things we'll touch on that I think he has to own up to, which I think he did, but like. The team that played, if you had said to me on Wednesday night he'll play 10 of those players against Motherwell, like Gassama and for Curtis being the only change, I wasn't stunned because there was a part of me thinking he's not going to tinker with things too much just yet because he doesn't have the squad yet. But what he's again, we'll get into things, but what he's doing with Aarons, like
No idea.
Max Aaron showed enough on. I would say over the 3 games we've seen Rangers this season, he's good at going forward. I don't think he's bad defensively, but he is so uncomfortable on that left hand side that he's trying to invert probably when he's been told not to because he doesn't want to play in that left hand side. If you're playing him there persistently, Martin has clearly made a review on those 2 left backs that are at the club and said they're not good enough or they don't fit what I'm trying to do. That's why Yilmaz is gone. We'll get into the bids later on because I thought that was an interesting comment. And he clearly thinks Jeff Day isn't ready. Now, I think that's a problem. I think if he plays Aarons on Tuesday night against Poulsen, I think he's contradicting himself what he said in the post-match stuff because he has to recognise the issues. That's one of them because he's not comfortable there. You have to have a comfortable left back. I'm not saying Jeffrey's the answer. Rangers need a quality left back in before the end of the window. But it's not like we haven't known that Jeff Day and Yilmaz, for different reasons, probably aren't long-term first choices. We've known Yilmaz's injury issues, and we know that Jeff Day was overplayed last season and is still, 20 years old? If he thought that, he has. Do you know what I mean? Like left back, he's made a lot of signings, and I see where all the signings fit, but to me, left back, we spoke about it since the start of the season, left back's a massive, massive area that's needed addressed. All summer.
Yeah, I don't think. But my biggest issue with Martin yesterday was less so what he'd done before the game of the lineup, and it was more the subs. The subs were baffling.
Yeah.
First of all, who he took off and who he didn't take off, two big issues. I don't understand why he decided to take off our entire midfield and bring on an entire new one.
The balance in the
entire
midfield
new one. Especially when the new midfield is so much worse than the one that came off. I like Barron, but I like Barron when he's next to Raskin, Diamande, and Rothwell.
Yeah.
I actually like Barami when he's next to those three, and I like Lyle Cameron when he's next to those three. The three who came on do not work together and should not work together and haven't worked together since they joined. So you either start one of them, or let's say you start Barami instead of Diamande, and then during the game you take Barami off and bring Diamande on, or do that with you can interject any one of those names with the six midfielders. Taking Gassama off when we're trying to hit teams in the break, when obviously Motherwell try to pile on, get an equaliser, take off our only fast player, doesn't work for me because
he was getting swamped though. He wasn't able to get anything going, and again, that's not his fault. It was just the way the left side. What I think he's looking to do with the fullbacks is get them to overlap. Like we saw it a few times with it. There was one in particular where I think Tavernier was through the kind of middle, and Danilo tried to peel off, and Danilo just wouldn't get his finish away, and ended up going out. I think it went out for a corner, one of the 3 billion corners Rangers had in the first half. They did do something with one of the corners though, and it's a good ball in from Rothwell. Tavernier gets the header. That was the only chance Rangers had goal. Rangers had 0.6 XG. Now people can laugh at that and people can go XG doesn't matter. It does matter. Because you look at that yesterday and think, can you think of a clear... The only one I can think of that was actually a really good bit of play was when Raskin and Danilo kind of played a wee pattern and Gassama got a finish away, and it was a really nice curling effort. It was just outside the post.
Yeah.
The only time I can think of. There's a couple in the second half. Lyle Cameron
having the free kick that was easily saved.
Free kick, yeah, but that's not... Like, I'm thinking more in kind of open play.
Yeah, Danilo hit the bar, but that was never really going in.
Yeah, and then Neil McCann says, yeah, he's a clever finisher. He's another. That's another issue, right? And we'll get. I want to touch on that quickly, but Motherwell at half time thought we're still in this year.
Yeah, easily.
And fair play to their manager. Now, this is where I'm not having the excuse of this is a new team. Motherwell's best player wasn't playing, and they've been laughed at in the Premier Sports Cup. I've spoke to a few Motherwell fans, and they were not looking forward to this game.
No.
On their style of play.
I mean, they scraped it home at Peterhead, last minute winner, stuff like that.
Motherwell's finishing was just as bad as Panathinaikos. Like, it was just as bad. I even tweeted it. 70 minutes. Motherwell's finishing was horrendous, and then they scored. But Motherwell deserved to win that game more than Rangers did. Rangers had nothing. There was no penetration of the goal. Nothing on play. You mentioned about the subs, and I just want to go through them here. Danilo, 63 minutes, comes off. He brings on Dessers. Where are we at with Danilo here? Because pre-season, all reports did okay. The 3 games I've watched this season, I'm like, you can't play up front yourself. And he was brought in to play as a 2.
Yeah, he's not a... Right, I know you said about winning the league. We probably won't win the league this year, but we need to start building a team that's going to win the league.
Yeah.
Next season or season after. Danilo's not that.
No.
and neither does power came on from. And I don't know if if Egerman wants to be here, he might be it, but we've not seen him. We saw him play out of position for 20 minutes against Panathinaikos at home, and that's all we've seen of Egerman so far. So whether he's ready, I don't know. But all I know is Danilo and Dessel are the guys who are going to score goals to win us a league title.
There was a couple of points where Danilo was, as I said, the one with Gassama, he laid off for Gassama, and as you said, he hits the bar. But apart from that, like, feels with Danilo a lot of the time you have to physically put it on a plate for him.
Yeah, he's kind of a bit like, well, he is an old school penalty. He's not the centre forward that Martin needs
No,
to play his style.
no.
I think there is a way,
I
there
don't
is
think any of
something
the
he
three of them
can
are,
do.
though. I don't think any of
No,
the three of them are. Even
I
Egerman, I
don't.
don't think fits that.
No, no. But I don't think we'll sign anyone until one of them leaves.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes deal's gone so quiet, but I imagine that if one of them leaves, at the moment it looks like Higaman's the most likely. If one of them leaves, then that Hurricane deal will get accelerated. But right now, I would get him even if we don't sell any of them. You don't give him four centre forwards or five if you've got
The
Chuck
squads,
Reynolds in there.
I looked at. I actually meant to say this last week. I looked at the program for the Middlesbrough game, and the squad is bloated beyond belief.
Yeah, yeah.
With
Well, I mean, the
average,
Cousins away, we already
yeah,
know that's two gone and quite a lot need to be added. A few loans. Uh, I'd send like Gentles out on loan, for example. I don't I don't know about Curtis. Obviously
I,
Moore's coming in. Obviously we've got Moore there.
I do think
But
Curtis will stay.
apparently the Ant-Man deal was close. So I don't know whether you want we've got apparently got this deal with Wraith Rovers. Maybe chuck him there. I'd half decent team. I'm not sure what you do with Finlay Curtis if I'm completely
I
honest.
think he will. I think he will stay as like a fifth choice someone because again, we're not underestimating the fact the injury bug that will hit and is already hitting. Midfield, I wanted to touch on because Rothwell, Raskin, and Diamande. I think in that type of game, now there was problems in Panathinaikos as well because there's clearly the balance just isn't there. I think Rothwell's clearly the number six that he wants. Is Raskin? I don't think Raskin suits left hand side, and we'll get into Diamande, but Rothwell and Raskin are the two that play. I think they're the two that are going to be playing no matter what. It's
Yeah.
just you have to get them. You have to get a system that fits them. You have to get a midfield balance that fits them. I thought Raskin was better on the left and Diamande was on the right, but I still don't think it's right at the moment.
I think well I was at the game, so I had a bit I was like right, I was no far behind the goal. So I had a bit of view of like midfield. They were rotating a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There was like even points where Tab was left back and Adams was right back.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of fluidity in the midfield. Obviously, Tab and Rans will be inverting it once he gets that sorted on the training park. So we will have an extra body. We'll have two extra bodies in there. I'm not really sure what the issue. I think we'll get into asking Diamande when we touch on Martin's post-match interview. But I'm not convinced by either. I said on here I wasn't very convinced by Raskin last season. I think he looked good last season because everyone else around him was bad. And
I think
all he
there's
had
a
to
bit
do
of
was put
that.
in a
Yeah,
bit. All he had to do was put in a 6.5 or a 7, and everyone thinks he's next coming at Busquets. So I'm not 100% sure on Raskin. If we get a decent bid, obviously he's not signed a new deal yet. He's got 2 years left now. If we do get a half decent bid, I would look at selling Raskin, especially now we've got Asgard and Moore can play in the middle of the park as well. As for Diamande on the ball's never convinced me. He's a very good athlete. He's a
yeah.
very good runner, but on the ball, he's not a very good passer. For someone who's maybe a midfielder, he's not a very good passer of the ball.
Again, that's what I was going to touch on with Raskin as well because a lot of people were screaming for Raskin to be that number six. I don't think his passing range is there for that, and
No,
I think that's why Rothwell's been brought in because he's looked at Raskin and thought you've got more energy and more of a dynamism if you're in one of the wide two midfielders. I think we will see that be a bit more narrow when there's a natural left back and more
yeah,
width, and that leaves us on to the next problem. And I don't think he did his worst game, but I think the
no,
Kieran Dowell problem is one that is a massive area. I couldn't believe that he started. Not because I'm not looking at the fact though that who do you bring in instead, right? Because whoever you're bringing in, you're playing them out of position, right? That's if you bring in Barami on the right hand side, you're playing him where he's not suited. If you're playing Cortez there, I think Cortez is better on the left. If you're playing Curtis here, probably he's played more on the left, so it wouldn't work. The problem with Dowell is though, it's like that right hand side, the left side I thought was most if Rangers were going to get anything going, it was coming from that left side with Raskin and Gassama. Diamandi was losing the ball a lot and there was about 25, 30 yards of space behind him because he was losing it in the kind of final third and then Rangers were having to run it back and build something up again. The amount of possession lost in the final third was horrendous. Dowell's problem is though, and it's been a problem since he's been at the club, he's all right in the ball. Do you know what I mean? He's mobile. It's loses the ball. There's no effort to get it back.
No,
and
like you even saw
Tavernier's way exposed in several occasions. There was a point just before the Motherwell equaliser where Dowell loses the ball on the byline. I don't know if you've seen this. It was around the 69, 70 minute mark. And the guy, it was like, the space is remarkable, how much space there is. Tavernier's inside, a full byline of space. Dowell loses the ball and just stops. And it leads to a shot that goes over the bar. That was a warning sign because that right-hand side, we mentioned pace. This team's going to lose the ball a lot, right? And I know about the careful in possession. The Rangers were very careful in possession a lot, but they were losing the ball a lot. So if you're trying to keep the ball non-stop, that's fine. But when you lose the ball once, you can win it back. When you're losing the ball 15, 20 times, when there's 20 turnovers in 20 minutes, and Motherwell have 40 yards of space to attack into and then don't get the finish away, you play against any team with quality in the final third, it's going to be a doing.
I mean, I think that also is a massive issue when it comes to Danilo.
Yeah.
Because when we were under pressure, like I'm obviously famously not Dessler's biggest fan, but he's a big presence. He's not the worst at holding the ball up.
Nah, even yesterday he wasn't either. Like, he was winning he was getting the ball up a few times. It's just,
and there was some points with Danilo, like I saw the ball doesn't stick to him. So when he's losing the ball, it's just wave after wave after wave. And I don't think, there was too many hospital balls, especially from, I think John Suter. Like I don't really rate John Suter at all. There was a 2 minute spell that summed up John Suter Rangers career. It was just after that block in the line where Butler makes a save and he clears it, and then Suter gets fouled, and then Suter makes it. I think he misses a header, or just makes a crap ball and gives it away. That's 2 minutes to just sum up John Suter. 1 minute phenomenal defending. Next minute loses the ball. Yeah, I don't know if that's a managerial thing where Martin's went, if you try and play my way and make a mess of it, I'll take the blame because I'm the manager and that's how I asked you to play. And their players are almost taking advantage of that. They're saying I can do what I want and the manager's it's not my fault. I think so. Yeah. I remember reading Southampton fans when Martin got appointed, they said the in the championship especially, they went, it did take a couple of months to get right. But I don't know if we'll have a couple of months.
That again though, that's where I'm very interested because the kind of way the fixtures have worked out. I don't think playing Dundee next week is a bad game to have. Right, I know they're losing 2-1 to Hibs as we speak, but I think the thing that annoys me is that this wasn't a typical low block away side. Motherwell were as open as Rangers at times. Rangers just didn't have the cutting edge or the pace to Rangers should have had I was saying to somebody I was speaking to during the game, I was like, Rangers got a second tier. I'm very interested to see how Motherwell line up because I was astonished how open Motherwell were, and I was like, even last season Rangers should be cutting them open, and that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like I'm not necessarily fully on the manager for that, but it felt as if at 1-0, a lot of the players were like, if we just see this out and keep the ball, Motherwell won't score. but how many times have we seen that game where Rangers do that? And it happened all last season away from home, sitting in these 1-goal leads, sitting in these nervy moments, and we'll fine, we'll just see it out and just
Don't.
You mentioned Suter, right? I wanted to say about a wee positive. I thought Giga. I do think he's been a positive note.
I was going to say that, yeah.
I
And
think
especially
there's
because his
something there.
pal next to him isn't great.
Yes, but I think with Suter, as we know, Suter's concentration just goes. Now that's normal. That happens, but it goes a lot. But I thought the midfield. Again, you're right about the midfield. Like I didn't mind taking off Diamande because I thought has Diamande had a really good domestic performance. Like have you come out a domestic game and thought Diamande was exceptional? Because I think if you do a top 5 Diamande list of performances he's had in the Rangers shirt,
Disturbing.
4 of them would be Europe. I would say.
And another would be Celtic.
Celtic. I would say the cup
Celtic,
final.
Celtic at Parkhead. The game that won a 3-2 game. I thought it was pretty good. He scored, and overall, I thought it was the whole midfield that day was great.
I thought the cup final he was good as well. So yeah, but
that just sums up.
That sums
up that mentality thing.
I don't think you need Diamande in a game like that. Like even, I mean, Cameron coming on and getting booked straight away. You were just like, it'll be typical for him just to get sent off.
Yeah, I thought he was going to do it again. Don't you saw there was a moment boy was running away from me and nearly clipped him. I thought, wait, what are you doing?
But you mentioned Barron, Cameron, and Bairami as a midfield 3. That's not you need a Raskin or a Rosswell in there just to. I know Raskin's still young, but Raskin's get more of a
bit of experience.
Yes, like Bairami, but I thought Bairami was okay when he came on. I thought he was trying to get things.
He put a great ball across the box.
His final ball was
someone should score from it. One each.
His final ball was poor. I thought
the one down the line, he cuts it across. It's after they equalise, and if Cortez is just an inch quicker, he scores. But I think it was a great ball across to him. But yeah, there was a cross at one each. Just went as soon as it left his foot, I'm like, that's straight to the keeper.
We're not gonna play Russell Martin's comments. We're just gonna read them because after the game, some of the players went to the crowd. That you would have known better than me, but you could see there was about 4 or 5 fans. Now, some of them do need to realise this is early August and this is not the finished article and this is going to happen. But I don't think the players. Martin had the right idea, just going up the tunnel. That's going over to Clark when you've lost 2 points after being so not comfortable, but the first half Rangers should not be losing that game.
I thought even when Motherwell put us under pressure, I genuinely thought we were just going to see it out.
Yeah,
I didn't think they equalise.
I think though if they do see it out, and I don't think we're talking about very much different. I think we're just saying, that was a lucky escape.
I think Martin's post-match interview would be exactly the same.
I think it would,
but he'd say we got away with one. Even though he did say that, I still think a lot of what he said would be the same.
What he did say after the game was, I think we were lucky to get a point. Motherwell played great. We were nowhere near where we need to be. I'm extremely disappointed and hurt by that. The first thing I was going to bring up there was that's very different to the last 3 managers because what they would have come out and said was we controlled the game. I think that already is like a difference. Now, is that going to work? I don't know.
When you say last 3 managers, are you putting Barry in that? Because I think Barry would have similar issue.
Not Barry. Gio, Beale and Clement. I wasn't including Barry.
Yeah, I'd agree with those 3. I think Barry would have a similar. Maybe it wouldn't be as harsh as Martin was, but I think it'd be more similar to what we got than a Clement.
The problem with Barry, though, the difference with Barry to this is that Barry was doing it because he knew the fan base would jump to that.
Yeah,
I think Martin was genuinely like, how on earth of this is this? How on earth have they done this? Now, we can single out players who we think it might be referring to later on, but I've said to the players there is a default here at this football club to revert to type. When it's going really well, everyone's all in. When it's not going well, you protect yourself a little bit, self-preservation. You have to be all in all the time. We had too many on the pitch who just did what they wanted to do. When you want to jog around, there's a big problem. And then we heard Jack Butland after the game. I think it was some players need to get their finger out. The
Yeah,
goal
that
had been
one was good.
coming. The goal had been coming, right? If Motherwell had scored in that second half, no one would have like taken it away
No.
from them, right? They probably they deserved at least a point anyway. But when you watch the goal back, as I have 4 or 5 times, you look at that right side and think, particularly Dowell in particular, and I'm not singling him out, but his lack of tracking the runner is Tavernier's out of position as well, right? That whole right side's abysmal for the goal. But the whole thing of of Russell Martin was off the ball, always running, always intense. That wasn't there. That wasn't
No.
there the most of the second half, and I'm not including. It wasn't just Dowell. There was 7 or 8 of them. There was the only ones I would say was showing any sort of intensity all game was Gassama, Jigger, and
Aaron's
Raskin.
maybe.
Aaron's, yeah, but I think Aaron's was so uncomfortable that he was just he just wanted
He
the
tried his best.
he just wanted the
Aaron's, I'll give
game
him that.
he just wanted the game off. He just
Uh,
wanted like,
he walked up
but
the road.
Raskin, I don't think Raskin's energy ever stops, but I think he was getting so frustrated because of where his position is, and it just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't working. The balance wasn't there. That's a very interesting comment to make in your first domestic game. Now, there's 2 ways this can go. There's 3 ways this can go. The one is what we've seen in the past is these players go further and further into their
Sure.
assault, and they're there longer than the manager. Right now, wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
No.
We've seen it before. Again, the managers all of their different issues, and they weren't. It wasn't just that, but the manager has basically come out and called them out first game, and then comes out and says after that, Dessers is the only person we would have bid for. That was the most
That
alarming thing to
confused
me.
me.
I wasn't surprised at that at all because that's what I've assumed has been happening. I think I said it last week. I don't see an urge. I don't see a lot of things, and I read a lot of things on Twitter and social media and transfer stuff. I have not. You usually hear names with agents and things like that. Links have been very lazy, like Yilmaz to Turkey, which me and you could make up.
No.
There hasn't been much in terms of any players. The only one that's been solid has been Dessers to AEK Athens and Agaman to
Yeah.
Lille. And I don't think that was included in that. I think he was talking about the players in the room,
Yeah.
I think is what he was
The
referring
only one
to.
I heard was Diamandi to Turkey. There was a £7 million rejected. That was from Turkey press. So
Yeah,
that made me think that was a bit more concrete, but obviously it's not true.
I would imagine that
And
could be.
that made me that Martin's comments were very interesting because everyone's first thought is, "Oh, who's he talking about?" I mean,
Yeah.
I've got my own theories. I think you do as well.
Mhm.
It is a very, and I think that's is a very deliberate thing to come out with because it does. I think it does kick them up the arse a bit, kick the players up the arse. But also, the most interesting thing is not what I expected when we appointed Russell Martin.
No,
Far from it. I've seen some stuff that obviously this interview's kind of gone a bit viral. It's not just stayed in Scotland, it's English football fans have looked at it as well. And a lot of Southampton fans I've came up with and went, this is not the Russell Martin that was our manager. And that I don't know if that excites me or concerns me. It excites me to an extent because he's obviously changed. That's a change from his time in England, which we said he needed to do. But also concerns me because he didn't realise the manner of the job he had at hand.
I think there's that, and I think there's also the fact is, and again, we had said it, and Martin had come out and said that you can't judge me on my time here when I was a player. He's seen what it takes. He's been at the
Yeah,
club. He knows the fan base, especially when he joined the club was just after Pedro Caixinha. He saw the bottom of the barrel, right? He
yeah.
was there.
Graham
He
Murphy was
saw,
his manager.
yeah, exactly. And my takeaways from yesterday was when he said that I think there was 3 things. What I was going to say was he knows. I think in the back of his mind, this is a long term project, and the owners have bought into him, right? Which
Yeah,
I do like that. I do like the fact that this is it's not just appointing a manager just because you were trying to get somebody. There was the previous board would have listened to the negativity around the Martin appointment and cut it all together, right? They would have. So the fact this is a long term project and you saw the stuff at the end, I don't know if that was a meeting for the cameras to be like, "Oh, we're backing you after that." Do you know what I mean? It does seem like a very different person than what we would hear last season. Even at Southampton, it's a very different club, a very different motives and like it's a very interesting change. But he's probably again he can't be surprised at all because he said about how many videos he's watched. He must have seen a lot of these players do that last season. So he can't be surprised that they've done that. They've reverted to type when things aren't going their way. That's how a lot of the results happened last year.
Yeah.
And the other side
think,
of it
well,
is that because why is he still playing them?
you only learn so much from a video. Like, I think we'd be surprised if we, even though we've watched Rangers for years and years and years, watched these players, some of these players for years. I think even we'd be surprised. I think we'd find out things we don't know by standing at the touchline, watching them training, doing
Mm.
X, watching them change room X, Y, Z. And I don't really know what I think he's expecting the players to have a big reaction and be all right. We've been called out. We need to do this. But I don't know if that'll be the case. And it's not as if we can sell a bunch. It's not as if we sell 8 players this window. Because like he said, no one wants to buy them.
Yeah.
So if no one wants to buy Raskin or Diamande, what's up with them?
Right. Well, that's just kind of what people were wanting. Who do we think he was referring to?
I think it was the 2 players I just named. I think it was Raskin and Diamande. And the reason I say it was them is the comment about bids. Because they are the 2 players who have had the strongest links for moves away this season. As we last season we all said, oh, I think Raskin and Diamante will leave. We sign Asgard, we sign Mothwell, oh that means Raskin or Diamante are leaving. I think it I think it's one of them. But I think it's both of them personally.
I think there's more than two. I think there's. I mean, the Dill one. Dill, I think, is definitely
I
in
don't know
that.
if it is though, because he played them 90 minutes. That's the
I'm,
one that made me think, and they took Raskin and Diamante off but left Dowell on. That's what made me think that it wasn't him. I think it should have been him because I thought he was. The fact it wasn't his worst performance yesterday says a lot about the previous 2.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I
But
still, the fact he played them 90 made me think it wasn't Dill. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if Dill starts on Tuesday.
I don't get it. I mean, I think the midfield, obviously, like, if it is Raskin and Diamandi, though, I would put it to this. This doesn't suit them. This balance, the midfield, what he's set up, doesn't suit them. But again, I've never thought Raskin was. I always thought Raskin would be the one to kind of go 90 minutes kind of thing. Like he's never
Yeah.
said to me that he's if he's doing that, then he must be frustrated about the positioning, and that's not the
But
way
I
to do
think
it.
it's one of them just get on with it. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Like, just because you're not playing the right side doesn't mean you can't run.
yeah. No, I get that. I just again, I think it's a very interesting way to go about it. It can work. You mentioned Tuesday night in the team. Before we get into that, we've certainly got one in the door. Mikey Moore has been announced. 17-year-old from Tottenham, showed glimpses last season for Tottenham. I am very excited about this. I know you will be as
Oh, I'm
well.
buzzing. Yeah.
If it, I'm being honest, if he's cleared for Tuesday, and then I know it's a
Start.
mass, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
I'd start. I remember when I read that this was before any links to us. I read there was someone on Instagram was like, "Oh, Spurs are putting Mikey Moore up for loan." The first thing I did when I saw that, I sent it to you and went, "Rangers should be all over this." And like a week later, he signed. So I'm very happy with this, and I also think the boys are the boy. The fact he's won 2007, which is really depressing. But apart from that, he is. I've seen some people think, "Oh, why we developing other teams' youngsters? We should play
you saw
Curtis,
you saw
Mikey Moore."
yesterday. You saw yesterday why that needs to happen because the
Mikey Moore's
players
a
there
lot.
aren't good enough.
Yeah,
Like
I like Finlay Curtis. Obviously the S didn't put him in yesterday. We didn't play. I do like Finlay Curtis, but Mikey Moore's a level above.
yeah,
he's a level or two above Finlay Curtis.
I think
I've
he's
seen
a
Ahmad
level above. I
Diallo
think he's a
comparison.
level above everybody that's
Most,
been in that
yeah.
right side.
I've seen Ahmad Diallo comparisons. I think that's very harsh.
It's very
I've said
lazy as well.
before,
I think it's very
yeah,
lazy as well.
I've said before, Ahmad Diallo had a very good debut against Ross County. Then he starts a child. Then this is on Gio. I think Ahmad Diallo's time at Rangers is purely on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He starts a child away at Celtic Park, hooks him at half time, and then we barely see him again. And he wasn't even the worst player in that first half against Celtic.
No.
And yet he got chucked out the squad because he put in a bad 45 minutes. And then he plays, then after we get to Europa League final, he plays those league games, and shock horror, he's the best player in every single one of those games. Then he doesn't come on the park at all in the Europa League final. And then he starts the Scottish Cup final, and lo and behold, he's man of the match before he
Yeah.
gets taken off again. So I think Amad Diallo's time was very harshly done. I think it was very bad man management from Gio at the time. And if Martin treats Moore a lot, I think Martin will treat Moore a lot better than Gio
Yeah.
trusted Ahmad. And even
Yeah.
we saw Ahmad's season at Sunderland the season after, I mean, it was unbelievable. Obviously, the player he is now. I think it's mental the time he had at Rangers, and I don't think majority of it was his fault.
There was a wee bit of excitement going into last night's game as well, about 20 minutes before, because Chris Jack done a very un-Chris Jack thing where he reported that Rangers were close to signing Oliver Antman. I'm very excited about this as well. I'm actually looking. We're recording this just before Go Ahead Eagles play PSV in the Johan Cruyff Shield, which is like the Community Shield. And Oliver Antman is in the possible lineups, but I'm waiting on information to say that he's not starting for Go Ahead Eagles. But this looks very much a goer. I'm very excited about it. I think a very interesting thing about this move is Gassama, I think, is clearly going to cut in a lot, which I'm okay with. But I think Ant Man is going to be very much a byline winger. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of goals this season come from Ant Man and Gassama feeding each other.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
I'm excited about
What do
this
you
idea.
do? How do you fit them all in the team? Because I've seen, so obviously we've got Asgard to come in as well. I think that we see Moore in the midfield three a lot because he got asked in the presser about how do you find a team that no, are you excited to have the option of Moore and Gassama as your two left wingers? And he said we could see them both in the same team. So that made me that a midfielder like Rothwell, Asgard, and Moore against Dundee at home. That sounds like great fun.
That's what Rangers need, though. It's not. You don't. I don't want to see Rothwell, Raskin, and Diamande
No, it
in
was
these
too
types
work.
of
Far
games.
midfield was far too workman like,
Yeah,
especially when there's no creativity from your two wingers. I mean, Kisama tried his best, but because there was nothing on
and
the right wing,
he's still a wee
he
bit
get
behind. You
doubled
can
up on.
tell. Aye, you can tell that he's still a wee bit behind. And Dill, I don't think creativity in Dill, and you don't have and your striker just has to have the ball presented to him from 3 yards out. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Ant Man, I really like the sound of. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit more movement this week, certainly in the left back area, because if he doesn't, then he's contradicting
like
what
the
he
boy in
said.
Monaco. What's his
I've
name?
seen that. Is it Kafur or something? Yeah, I think
Something like that.
he's
Yeah,
linked with a few. He's linked with Celtic as well, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think there needs to be a. My worry is that I think they put a couple of eggs in their own Beck basket, and that didn't work. So now it's kind of down the list, and
yeah.
some of those players in the list have probably had better, like had other offers, and are now not there. So are you down to like the fifth, sixth choice? I think is the thought.
Hmm.
The games are coming thick and fast, though. We're going to close, obviously, with looking at Tuesday night. Victoria Pilsen at Ibrox. I certainly, I don't know about Victoria Pilsen, right? I'm, I'm not getting into this with the worry I had with Panathinaikos for the simple reason that I know group stage football is guaranteed. So,
Yeah.
but if Rangers lose this and we see the same issues, I don't think it's going to be great. Now, I don't think we're at the stage yet where some people are just desperate for this to fail and desperate to be proved right with Russell Martin, and I don't understand that.
No,
But
baffling.
I do think there is a wee bit of that's the Champions League. This team is nowhere near ready for the Champions League and ready for these games that are coming thick and fast. But that's the kind of problems you have when you don't win your league, is you're going to have these qualifiers, and you're going to have to bed a
Yeah.
lot of new players in. I do think we'll see a lot of the same. I think the only change I would make, as I said, was if you can get a right winger, a natural right winger in for Dill, do it.
Yeah, even like I know by playing him out of position, but I know Gassama can play on the right. I've
I,
heard that.
I think the problem you've got with that though is that if you're going to then play him on the right, you're kind of trying to build relationships early on. Does that work when you're Rangers? The problem Rangers have is a lot of players who are not playing in natural positions.
Yeah, I think. Well, the two main ones are left back and right wing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can obviously talk about different sides, but it's. I mean, I'm really buying it. They're asking Diamante hang on the wrong side because they can just move.
Mm-hmm.
They can swap about. They've done that. They've done that. Yes, I don't.
Or they
Martin
play a bit
seem like
narrower. Like
yeah.
it's not.
Martin doesn't sound like the kind of manager who's very strict in player positions. I think his system is pretty fluid.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I'm pretty sure we saw Rothwell drift out wide and Raskin be the 6 and that kind of thing. So they can just swap about, but the wings are very different to like midfielders playing in opposite sides. I do think Moore. I think international clearance for Moore was an issue yesterday because he couldn't play.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard it's done, but I'm pretty sure it will be done for Tuesday. If it is, I'm like you. I'd just start him.
Yeah, but
you can. I think you kind of have to at this point.
Yep. Well, hopefully we are in a bit better mood next weekend where Rangers played in D. If they don't win that, if they don't beat a Stephen Presley in D, then I'll be the first at the door. Like,
yeah,
that's yeah.
But don't even put that thought in my brain.
Yeah, that would be a massive warning sign. But no, on that note, we'll wrap up, mate. Thank you very much as always. I know it's been a different one than what we hoped, but feels like an old one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a classic Rangers podcast, isn't it?
Mate, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
That's always a pleasure, mate.
Thank you, mate. Well, thank you very much for tuned in. We'll have player ratings going out after the Pilsen game as well. We'll be back next week with the next episode of the Rangers assessment. Hopefully, we've got a League One to talk about, and if we don't have a League One, it won't be a good podcast. Thank you very much. We'll see you all soon.